everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 3, driving in the Go Kart. So this is my first time ever obviously racing in the Go Kart. I did the guide for everyone the day before, obviously did a reasonably okay lap within qualifying, found out that obviously ABS was best turned off, so turned it off for the race. You can see the qualifying was going really badly because I was just searching for a slipstream all the way through the opening laps, couldn't find it, kept getting one, but then they were driving so slow in front of me because this lobby was not the highest rated lobby. I did the last slot because obviously I did the manufacturers earlier and then had to have a little break, came back on, and the quality wasn't that great. There was a lot of just normal A rated drivers in the lobby. Normally it's just A+ in these lobbies when you're in top split. I was actually the highest rated driver in the lobby, but had to do a lap at the end with no slipstream. So this was basically a time trial lap, no slipstream. Just had to try and get an okay lap in to get myself up the timesheet a little bit. Managed a better lap, put myself up even just one place by improving by quite a large amount. So a 56.4, which wasn't that bad with no slipstream. With a slipstream, I think I could have got that into the 55s, but I was searching for Pumpunku all the time on the track, and every time I found him, I just couldn't pick it up. I wanted us to both work off each other's slipstream, but it wasn't to be. But still, starting P3 is no real problem in this track because for some reason the Go Kart picks up a slipstream from about 2 years away, and you could pretty much be at the other end of the track, the other side of the track, and you'll still be getting a slipstream off cars in front, off Go Karts in front. So it was a bit strange. You'll see the quality of the grid is not as high as normal. There is still some fairly good drivers in this race. Obviously, it's still a top split. It's just that obviously I think a lot of people chose not to even race this Go Kart race for obvious reasons, because on a wheel and on a pad this was just pretty much a nightmare. The slightest little bit of movement with your controller or with a steering wheel would pretty much wipe you out, and especially when trying to counter steer. If you lose the rear end and you try and do some counter steering, you have to be so fast. I mean, some of the reactions that were required on the steering wheel was insane. You had to be just super speedy at getting the steering wheel back into a line, and you had to be so careful at putting slightest movements in. And that's why I decided to race this race from the cockpit view in the go-kart, because one thing I noticed when I moved to the bumper view was it felt more reactive. It felt like the front end was better. It was you could get the car into the apexes a lot better, which is good for obviously GT3, GT Group 1 cars, Group 4 cars. But this go-kart, I wanted it to be a bit smoother, so I tested it out, went to cockpit. Obviously I said this in my track guide, and noticed straight away it was a lot smoother driving this go-kart from the cockpit than it was from the bumper view. So I raced it in this. Now, however, the downside of this is I have no rear view mirror, and so basically I cannot see anything. And there was another big downside to this that I didn't really think about or even test, because I didn't do any test races. I just basically went, I did a very quick open lobby in a practice session, but it wasn't a race. And I did mainly time trial because obviously there was no tyre wear on this, no fuel wear, so there was no need to really do too much in an actual lobby. But starting the race from P3, that's not a bad place to start, and straight away you're going to see how much smoother it is. A little bit smoother in the cockpit, and one other advantage is you can actually see the steering wheel, so you can kind of, I don't know whether it just helps in terms of counter steering to see the inputs you're putting in on that steering wheel. It kind of just felt a little bit better. I was also running traction control on number 1, the 1 setting, and a lot of the top split drivers were doing this. I noticed I think TRR Lightning was also using the traction control slightly in the race. It just, if it was going to go with the rear end, it just helped save that rear end. Obviously ABS off, as you can see there, the yellow light on the ABS, that tells you that there is no ABS on, so that's why it's yellow. So if you're ever watching a replay, be aware of that yellow symbol on the left hand side. If you see a replay with the yellow over the ABS, it means they've got the ABS off, and that tells you obviously the ABS off is a bit faster for these go-karts. So starting, you can see, managing to hold on at the moment in P3. Slipstream assistance is massive on this track. You just cannot break a slipstream with a go-kart yet. You'd have to be about 1.5 seconds faster a lap to get away from the slipstream, which is impossible. It will never happen. So going on the outside there, got a lot of marbles on the tyres, and really it just slowed me down a bit on the outside. I was trying to go around the outside just to see if I could make it work. Wasn't going to be, but at this point there's no point making any risk, because this is the early stage of a 25 lap race. This is all about just staying within the top 3 right until the last lap. The winner of this race is all about who goes, it's going to be the final, going up to the final corner. You need to be pretty much in the first place. If you're in first place 2 laps to go, there's not really going to be any benefit to that because of the slipstream strength. But you can see everyone just working that slipstream, trying to get in it, and it's insane how strong this was. It could just drag you, even from, like, if a car was 1.3 seconds up ahead of you on the road, you could still pick that slipstream up. And this corner, it really helped me. Look at my steering inputs, so little inputs, and just correcting the rear all the time through that corner. I really enjoyed that corner. That final corner, I was able to take it flat, and even take it flat on a really tight angle where others were not able to do it, and I think it was my view that helped. You'll notice also I'm able to catch the rear end a little bit better, because if I was on bumper view, I would not be able to catch the rear end on this. But from the cockpit view, it felt a little bit easier to save things, and if you had big moments, you could just about catch it if you were fast enough with the steering wheel. So this was always going to be a fun race. This was my aim. I knew that the 10 o'clock race probably wouldn't be a too high split, so it was just about going into it and trying to have fun with other drivers and get a good quality race, so I can share it with everyone on my channel. And as you can see so far, it's been a great battle. Pumpunku there in P1. We're just pretty much at this stage, we're just working the slipstream and just trying to get a gap to build away from other go-karts. You can see already 2 races developed because of the slipstream. We've got the lead battlers. Pumpunku turned in a little bit there. I tried to go up the inside, and I just give him a little tap then, and I had to run wide. Lost a few positions, but like I said, there was no real issue with that because I'm still in the lead pack. You can see the gap developing to the other lead pack, the other group behind us, is quite large now. So this is a battle for the lead. These 5 go-karts, and the rest are in a totally separate race now. They are not involved with this lead battle, and you know, there's pretty much no chance. Once they'd gone over 2 seconds behind, they're not going to gain that 2 seconds back on the lead battle. But myself in P4 at this stage, just a few tenths behind, 4 tenths behind P3. No real worry about slipstream at this stage. I can just concentrate on trying to pick up a place and just trying to stay within the top 3. The aim was to stay in the top 3 or 4 karts right to the end of the race and see what we could do. But as you can see there, it looks like Pumpunku. I think it's Pumpunku with a penalty there. It's flashing away. He's obviously picked up a penalty either for contact, or it could have even been when I've gone on the inside. I'm not sure if he got the penalty when I went on the inside and give him a little tap on the rear, but I was trying to go on the inside, and I think he lost the rear end slightly, and that just obviously tried to correct it, and that just knocked him into the front left of my tyre, which he might have picked up a penalty. It actually looks like that is that Pumpunku. I can't even tell if that's Pumpunku that's got the penalty at the moment. It might be the Spanish driver. There's a little bit of contact between myself and the other go-kart there. I think we both lost the rear end at the exact same time, and I picked up a penalty. And watch this now for this is horrible, because look at my view now in this race. Going into the apex of the corners, this is one thing that I didn't really take into consideration, as there was a little bit of contact going through them corners as well. I've got a 5-second penalty. It really did come into play, this penalty, in certain corners and when other go-karts were near you, because now look at this, I cannot see the corner. I'm looking there, I'm blind to the apex. You really just got to be guessing when to turn. So I'm looking at the right hand side now to judge, and the shadow on the track, that's how I knew when to turn in. So not the best situation to have that big red slow down sign completely blocking the view. I mean, come on, Polyphony, it's not hard. Put it at the top of the screen. Why it's there, I do not know. It's a bit like the fuel, the 1 lap remaining. I mean, the 1 lap remaining doesn't actually bother me, because for some reason it doesn't get in the way of where I'm looking. But that right there, that slow down, is always going to be entering, you know, the apex of the corner where you want to be looking. So it was just a case of just trying to concentrate on the other go-karts at the same time. I was normally I'd be looking at the apexes, but now I'm trying to pay attention to where their go-kart is and when they're turning, just so I can make sure I'm getting the right reference points. It was a little bit tricky, but I actually started getting used to it, and it didn't end up bothering me as much as I expected to. But look at this point now. I've got players' names above me, and it's just filled with no view. I haven't got no clue where the apex is. So I got up the inside there, managed to make a nice move on Pumpunku there on the inside, taking a lot of speed around there. You can see the rear starting to step out, but with this view I was able to just control that rear stepping out and put myself into P1 now on lap 7. But like I say, there was no real benefit for this P1, but I had to try and find a way to get rid of this penalty. At this stage I wasn't too worried about trying to get rid of too much of that penalty. I did work out where it was best to get rid of a bit further on, but at this stage of the race wanted to just keep accelerating, just pull away, and then if we can drop any of these others involved with the battle, then for the last like 7 or 8 laps I can really concentrate on trying to get rid of that penalty last 10 laps or so. But so far this has been really entertaining. Great racing between the top 4 or 5 drivers in this race. Clean as well, reasonably clean. There's been some contact, but to be brutally honest, this go-kart was so hard not to have contact. Especially I deliberately put the radar on in the bottom right hand corner, because obviously I knew I was using this view and I knew I would have no rear view mirror. But you're just not looking at that bottom right hand corner, because, you know, why would I be looking at my right hand tyre? going around the track, you're looking at the apex, pretty much where that slow down sign is. That's where you're concentrating on, either to the left of it or to the right of it for apexes. You cannot see anything from that radar when driving it. This is why I say it so many times when I see people say you should put the radar on. It makes no difference. That is pointless for me. Down there I can't see anything. I think on the bumper view it's probably a little bit better. I think it might move to the middle of the screen on the bumper view, and that's why sometimes on the bumper view it might be a bit better, but even then you're looking too high up, I think. I wish they'd give us the option to do HUD layouts like other games do, where we could put things where we wanted to. It can't be hard to just let us have some customization, so we could move maybe the timings all to the left or something, or move stuff around to our own preference. It would be nice if they did that, but I can't see it happening. As you can see now, picking up the slipstream off Pomponku, going on that inside, and again, look how tight I can take this line and maintaining speed, 94, 95 miles per hour all the way through that corner, and no issue with the rear. I was just able to keep it planted because I was putting such delicate inputs into the steering wheel, and obviously using this view really did help for this go-kart. I tried the bumper view, but I found it a bit too twitchy. I probably could have got used to it, but as soon as I tried this view, it just felt a lot smoother, a lot easier to use. So that's why I stuck with this one for this race. As you can see so far, the race pace has been pretty terrible because battling away at the front, there's only 3 or 4 go-karts involved for this battle. I think if the split would have been a lot higher, the pace would have been a lot faster, because you'd have had 4 or 5 really fast drivers picking up slipstreams off each other, whereas at the moment I think there was other drivers that were fairly fast in this, but I think Pomponku and myself and the Fug driver behind there and Dr. Hash were probably the only drivers that are able to maintain the speed in this battle. But I think if it would have been like people that were able to hit 55.9s in qualifying, they would have just dragged everyone along with their pace, and that's why you'll see a lot of the pace difference between the earliest bits of this bit, because at this point you see I tried to get rid of some of my penalty, just let Pomponku go. I saw what he was doing in my mirror. I noticed it when he was behind me, sorry, when I looked back, I noticed that he was lifting off and getting rid of some of his penalty, so he's trying to do that before the end of the race. So I thought, well, I'll try that one as well. So what you're going to see now for the next remaining, I say about 6-7 laps or so, is trying to do tactical, basically tactically deploying, get rid of that penalty. So in certain corners I'm lifting off early and just letting it coast in, and just trying to let it decrease slowly, because I've already got it down to about 3.5, so I've got to get rid of 3.5 seconds. And the corner that I noticed was best to do it was after turn 1, the little like fast chicane going into that left hand corner. Just as you go into that left hand corner, just lift a little bit earlier, and I found that the penalty would just drop quite fast. So I had worked that out, that was the best place to do. I don't think everyone else had worked it out quite as well, because I noticed other people were trying to get rid of it on the back straight, and I found that wasn't really getting rid of it fast enough for me. This was a safer option for just about here. This is where I was doing it going into this corner. I don't know if I did it on this lap, probably not. I'm probably going to use it when I'm a bit closer to Pomponku, so it's always best to do it when you're right in the slipstream, because then you can lift, get rid of maybe half a second or three tenths of a second, something like that, and then as I have a massive moment on the curb, then just about saved it, and then got on the marbles, and look at the reactions there, just trying to hold on to the go-kart. Luckily held on to it, and like I said, yeah, just try and get rid of 2-3 tenths at a time while you're in the slipstream, and then you drop back to about this type of distance, and then the slipstream will just zoom you straight back up to the go-kart in front. It was so overpowered, this slipstream. I kind of wish they'd do something, because I think it's a bit too strong. I think the racing would have been a little bit more intense if it was a little bit weaker. Obviously this makes for great racing, the slipstream does make it close, but it's not very realistic, let's be brutally honest. It's a bit false. You don't get that kind of slipstream off go-kart from the other end of the track. I've never seen that when I've been go-karting. I've never experienced that in my life, not to that extent anyway. As you can see now, trying to get rid of the slipstream there, getting rid of the penalty there. You see I got rid of half a second there, just lifting off there and just kept to about half a second away, so then the slipstream will just drag me back up to Pomponku, and I can do the same, just keep trying to get rid of little bit parts of this penalty every lap or so, as I have another moment on that corner and again managed to save it. This view probably saved my race, because if I was on the bumper view I would have probably been in the barrier about 5 times by now. As you can see now, also behind me, I think it's Fug cars, and I think I actually knocked Dr. Hash off without even seeing it at some point. I can't remember where it was, but when we had a bit of contact, obviously I couldn't see much from the view I've got at the moment with the slowdown. I actually apologise, I don't know where it was, I haven't actually seen it yet, but it must have been earlier on in the race. I gave him a little tap somewhere on the corner without knowing he was there. I might have even lifted off a bit too early and he's gone into the side of me or something, but it wasn't on purpose obviously, and I did apologise at the end of the race for that, because I just literally had no view. Still, you know, trying to get rid of that penalty, because it was really, it does bug you. You know, as much as it wasn't affecting me too much in terms of race pace now, it's more of an irritant. It's starting to irritate you when you're driving, and all you can see is a big slow down sign in front of you. And now picking that slipstream up again, so now I'm going to try and get rid of some penalties. See, getting rid of only a tenth there, as I think I lifted, and P3 actually went into the back of my go-kart, where I lifted a bit early off into the corner. He's just obviously not anticipated it. This is the issue with this penalty system. Obviously people are going to try and get rid of their penalties when they're small amounts like this, and use the slipstream to do it. And cars behind are going to end up going into the back of you, because they're not going to expect you to do it. They're not going to give you, it's not give them a warning of when you're going to do it, because only you know when you're going to get rid of that penalty. But he didn't really lose too much out. He's still 2 tenths behind and still well within the slipstream, so no real losses. Pomponku has a big moment there, just about manages to save it as well. His car started to go his way. Obviously the penalty starting to decrease, so again through this corner you can see getting really close, and the other go-kart behind me, you can see in that top right hand corner how close this is. 3 cars now for the battle for the lead. This is pretty much a podium battle. No one else is involved with this, no one else is going to get involved with this. No one's close enough, and they're in a separate race really, in a different battle going on with their slipstream. So this, look at the marbles also building up. This was a bit of an issue on this track. As you can see, the rear is starting to step out. Pomponku sees that, he's going to try and break the slipstream, but I don't think anyone realised how strong the slipstream was on this track. When you were about 1.3 seconds behind, you were still able to pick up the slipstream, so it wasn't really, I mean, you're still going to do it because it reduces it a little bit. As you can see again, moving over to that right hand side, trying to break it again, but he's not able to do that, as I'm just trying to concentrate on keeping this position and getting rid of the penalty. I wasn't too worried about overtaking Pomponku, because at the moment it's helping me out. I can just use this slipstream and just try and get rid of the penalty every now and then when I feel it's safe to do, and when I feel that I'm close enough to him to pick up the slipstream fairly easily again. But really fun battle this. Enjoyed this race, thoroughly enjoyable. Now picking up a real strong draft from Pomponku. Gonna have a little look up the inside, but I can see no real point there. No point chucking it up and coming into contact. Just might as well stay behind again and look for a place to get rid of even more of my penalty. I didn't know at this stage of the race how much penalty Pomponku would have. It was clear that he obviously had quite a bit, because he's been trying to get rid of his penalty as well as I have. As I got up the inside and there's more contact, I thought he was letting me go up on the draft when he seemed to open the door but then closed it again, so more contact. I backed out of that and just let him go back into the lead. I didn't want to carry on off after I give him a little bit of contact, but I lost another 3 attempts of my penalty in that, so no real loss for me. I actually gained a bit, as he's still in the lead. No real loss for him. Apologies for the contact to Pomponku there. Again, it was because the door was open, so I went to go up on the inside and he seemed to shut it a little bit late. I didn't know if he was struggling with his grip on that outside. It can start going a bit weird when you start running wide, but got away with that. He's still in P1, I'm still in P2, and watch this now, 1.2 seconds behind us, the driver, and watch how strong this slipstream is, because he's still going to pick that slipstream up from that far back. And this is what I was saying about how strong it is, because really you shouldn't be picking up any sort of draft from that type of distance. You know, that should be it. You should be losing the draft, but he's still gaining down the straight, so quite a big, you know, like gap that you could have and you'd still pick it up. But going through this corner, getting really strong speeds through there, because I was in the slipstream of Pomponku. But again, just I decided to get rid of this penalty rather than wasting time battling with Pomponku. I just got rid of another 2 tenths of my penalty, so now down to 1.9, and then got rid of a massive amount, because I knew that the driver behind me was quite far back, so I thought he's still got the slipstream, I'm still going to have Pomponku's slipstream, let's get rid of a big chunk. And now down to 1.3 seconds, so the tactical way I'm doing this race has been working out really well, because I'm just getting rid of that penalty every now and then and staying in the battle, so it's not really cost me too much. And that's why a lot of the lap times are so slow, because every lap I'm searching for somewhere where I can get rid of the penalty. I've not been able to just put the foot down and actually just concentrate on driving yet, because obviously there's just not really been any opportunity to do it while that big red slow down sign's in my view. And you see P3 getting very close again. He's picking up slipstream. I'm picking up the slipstream from Pomponku, taking really high speeds through that corner. Nearly caught me out with the rear end, but managed to save it. And again, I just decided to let him, I was going to let him go there, but I think he also did the same thing as me, so we both let each other go kind of, and he got rid of some of his penalty, I got rid of some of mine. So again, going into this corner, you can see lifting and got it down to just over half a second. So that place was the place I found was working for me. It was really decreasing the penalty a lot, and I don't know if the others had noticed I was getting rid of it there, because that's where I was getting rid of up to half a second every time I did it. So now I've only got 4 attempts, decided to lift it again, and I've got rid of that big slow down sign at last. No penalty in my way, and obviously now I can just race. I can just concentrate on getting myself to the front and just trying to go as fast as I can. So Pomponcu's still got the penalty, the driver in front of me hasn't got a penalty, so depending on how much penalty Pomponcu had, this is more of a battle now between myself and P1 in front of me, as he hits that curb and goes massively wide. A big moment, he could have lost that quite badly, but he just held on to it and got away with that one. But now I'm in P1. I decided I've got a 7/10 of a second lead, let's try and get our foot down and put some better laps in and just try and concentrate on driving this a bit faster now, because I've got nothing to worry about now in terms of penalty. I can just go for it. So you can see a lot more attacking in the apex, a lot more on the throttle earlier, hitting the braking points a lot later, and starting to build that lead up a little bit and pull away a bit. But the slipstream just so strong through the corners. I was actually gaining over a second ahead now from P2, but then you're going to see the strength of the slipstream as soon as we get to the straights. As 1.3 seconds, 1.4 seconds ahead. But watch how far back he's 1.5 seconds behind me at this point. I go to the right hand side to try and stop the slipstream, but he's still picking it up. Look at that, 1.4, 1.3 nearly. He's just picking the slipstream up all the way down the straight, down to 1.3. So you're getting 2 tenths then on that straight, even though he was 1.5 seconds behind. It's comical that it should be that much, because it really shouldn't be. And to go over the line, obviously not the best lap really, because obviously going into turn 1 I didn't really hook it up. But now I've just got to keep concentrating, keep it smooth, and just try and see if I can hold on to this lead. At this stage I thought it might be possible to stay out and just hold on to this lead. You know, they're 1.2 seconds behind. If I can just keep concentrating and put some good lap times in, it might be possible that they won't be able to catch me up from the slipstream. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to put some reasonably good times in and drive reasonably fast. As you can see, pretty much matching the fastest lap that I've done in the race so far, 56.6 or 5 or something like that I think at this stage. And you can see again 1.3 seconds ahead, but then look at the slipstream. This straight was where the slipstream was just so strong, just such a large distance. I've never seen anything like it on the game, to be honest. I don't think you get that much of a slipstream off any other car that I've seen on the game. But importantly, I'm still over 1 second in the lead. You can see they're 1.2 seconds ahead, so managing to keep myself fairly high up here now into the 46s in the lap times. Obviously I'm not taking too many risks. I'm not driving to the point where I could risk, you know, like qualifying laps. There's no point doing that, because one mistake and you spin, and I've lost a reasonably good position. Obviously the points weren't great. I think 2,000 points was up for grabs for the winner, which isn't brilliant. It's not what I would have liked. Obviously I would have wanted more, but 2,000 points is still an okay base score, because obviously you need 5 solid rounds, and then once you've got the 5 solid rounds, you can start taking risks and go for the bigger races. That's my aim at the moment. In pretty much both the series is just to get 5 solid point scoring rounds, and then concentrate on trying to get better rounds further on. As you can see now, they've really got the slipstream and they're starting to catch me back up. So it's going to be a battle again between P1, 2 and 3, as they've caught right back up with the power of that. And now it's just pretty much anyone's race at this stage. I didn't really know at the point if Pomponcu had a penalty, so I looked back and I could see that Pomponcu still had a penalty. So it's still pretty much a battle for first and second, because if he's got a 2-second penalty, he's going to have to break at the finishing line. So he's going to lose more than he's not going to really be involved with the battle. But this is really great racing still as Pomponcu has a little look up on the inside, looking at that top right hand corner. I got a little bit of a slide going through there, picking up all the dirt off the tyre rubber that's been left on the side of the track. It really was tricky. Once you pick that up, the go-kart started to slide a bit at the rear, and it was really hard to control. So now down to P2, obviously, where Pomponcu's managed to get past me, but he's still got that penalty to get rid of. So not really a big issue at this stage. You can see also, you may notice in the distance, in a lap or so, a back marker starting to come into play. Obviously he may not be into play in terms of contact, but you can still get a slipstream off of a back marker when the Ghost did. So I think it was about lap 23, it might have been this lap coming up, that I started to notice him there, and decided that I wanted to get into the lead, because if I can get in the lead and then pick up a slipstream off a back marker, it might help me out in terms of getting the win in the race. You could see him going through that corner then, just up ahead. I could see him, and I was thinking, right, that's where obviously why I did the overtake then, because I thought if I can just get past Pomponcu, really go for it, I might be able to pick up that slipstream, and it might help me get the win in this race. Is running really far to the left hand side then, so close to going on the grass. I didn't really realise I'd gone that fast when racing, but I was literally an inch away from being game over there, and probably ended up spinning round 360, but got away with that just about. Shows you how close you get to these edge of the tracks without, when you're watching it back, I didn't realise how close I was getting some of the time, but that was really scary to look at that and how close I did get to that point there with which would have been resulted in pretty much a 360 spin. So luckily didn't spin and still in the race, and homing in on the driver in front, and you can see built up a little bit of a cushion where I started to really push, because I could see that ghost, the back marker up front. I knew it had ghost, but I knew that it would help me out on slipstream, that even at this type of distance I might be able to start picking up some form of slipstream. We're on lap 24, 2 laps to go, and in the lead of this race, so everything is going really well. I wouldn't normally have tried to have done this strategy of getting out in the lead at this stage, but because I could see the back marker, I was thinking this is pretty much the perfect opportunity to use the slipstream and just try and get myself ahead. But he didn't take that corner too good, but I was expecting him to stay a little bit further up and maybe I'll still get some of the slipstream on the final lap, but it's still helping me out. I'm still in the lead. Pompunky's gaining on me, but he's not going to be able to gain enough going through into this final corner, so this is going to be really close. I've just got to hold it really tight there with really high speeds and try and stop the car from sliding. Did that really well and managing to stay in P1. You can see Pompunky there also now behind, picking up the slipstream off that ghosted back marker and going into the turn 1 for the final time now. This is really close. You can see Pompunky right behind me, 2 tenths behind, and I've got to try and hold on to this lead now. This was I've just got to do everything I can to hold on to lead. Pompunky has a little look up the inside there, give a little bit of space in case he did throw it up on the inside. Obviously I couldn't see with no rear view mirror, so I had to kind of predict where someone might throw the go-kart up on the inside and hope that they either didn't or give enough space. So going into this corner now, still in the lead. This is going to be so close at the finishing line. Quite an intense end to this race. You can see 3 drivers really battling it out, and I'm going to go to the right hand side of the track and just stick my go-kart as close to that white line as possible, because they're going to have to go around the long way, and if I hold the inside, they're going to have to be careful where my car starts going. So I'm just going to hold and pray that I can hold this maximum speed without lifting all the way on the tight line there, and manage to do it and go over the line in P1 and get myself the first victory of season 3. So although it was a lower split, it's still a victory, and 2,000 points taken away from that race. So thoroughly enjoyable race, and I did expect this go-kart to be fairly fun in race conditions, because obviously the slipstream and stuff. So it was really fun, enjoyed that battle. There was a bit of contact between, I think, a few go-karts, but I think everyone came into contact with everyone in that lead battle there. So really good battling, great fun. Hope you enjoyed that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm going to be back with more FIA races hopefully tomorrow and hopefully Monday. The Nations race, I'm not too sure how that's going to go. I really have no idea. In terms of the manufacturers, it's looking okay. The pace is looking good. I've watched some of the Japanese races. Everything's looking good, and I'm hoping for some strong points in that race. So let's hope for some strong points. Let's hope it all goes well, and I'll be back very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.